let's talk today about the different kinds of carnivore diets. Because if you spend any time in carnivore social media groups, you'll start seeing people post different kinds of diets and calling them carnivore. This often can cause a lot of consternation and a lot of arguments and a lot of ill will. And I have said in videos before, and I'll say it again here, I do believe in calling a diet what it is. Call something what it is. Let's not just apply a universal label to things that don't fit the bill. That should be a very basic rule of life for almost anything. You see it in the scientific world where something certainly is something or is not something. You can have pretty bad consequences if you try to apply to something what it is not, or use it for something that it is not. And so there are images and charts floating around the internet about different kinds of carnivore diets, and there's a classic one you see thrown around a lot here, and I'll put it on the screen here briefly, and we'll break it down. But we're going to go start with diets that are not actually carnivore diets, and that there's nothing wrong with them. In fact, they do wonders for a lot of people. They are sort of adjacent to diets related to carnivore. And we'll start with the first one of those being just the classic ketogenic diet. And I say classic, we're going to talk about clean keto here. Whole food keto, not I'm going to go grab the jar of Kraft mayonnaise and a pack of pepperoni and use the mayonnaise as dip and call that a ketogenic diet. I mean, yeah, okay, that's keto in the strictest sense. Toxic sludge in your body, from eating junk is keto, I guess, but this is not the same thing. Okay. A ketogenic diet is different than a carnivore diet. There are certain things in common, including a state of nutritional ketosis, emphasis on fat, those sorts of things. But there's a philosophical difference, an underlying difference, a purpose, or a difference of purpose between a ketogenic diet and carnivore, any of the other carnivore diets. And that is that ketogenic diets are first and foremost weight loss diets. The carnivore diet certainly can be used for weight loss. That's what I use it for, but it seems primarily to be a healing diet, a restoration of proper balance sort of diet to your body, getting it back to the state that it should be in, as opposed to a weight loss diet. Although is a carnivore weight loss diet itself, it certainly can be if you're, dealing with severe obesity like I have my whole life, then yes, you can certainly use a carnivore diet for managing your weight, dropping the pounds. But a ketogenic diet has just a different underlying purpose to it, and that's what separates it. But keto diets work wonders for a lot of people. I totally attest to keto diets. If you decide you're going to start your carnivore journey, most of the really good influencers out there who are experts in nutrition will tell you to phase your way in from the standard American diet or standard Occidental diet, as some are calling it, and go start by dropping the carbs down, spending some time in the keto space so you get your body ready for that rough transition period. And then you move on to carnivore. Well, some people, I guess, get to keto and they like what the results they're getting and they stay there and they're fine with that. And that's a completely legitimate thing to do. But keto is a different diet. And I've said this in many other videos. The second thing I will call, this will ruffle some feathers, is that what gets called hypercarnivore by some, which is a weird name for it, when I know it comes from the anthropology and the science, but okay, it's a weird name just linguistically for that, or the animal-based diet, they're not carnivore diets, strictly speaking, because a part of the underlying philosophy of carnivore is to eliminate plants in your diet, or at least get them down to next to zero, right? That's kind of what the point is. And, these diets emphasize, meat plus fruit in some way. And I'm not saying, having, a little bit of, if you decide that having a little bit of fruit, once in a great while as a treat, the summer peach harvest comes in and you really want some peaches, you have this stuff a couple times a year. I'm not going to say, oh, give me your carnivore card. Naughty, naughty, naughty. No. But these are sort of diets built on, inclusion of a little bit of plant material here and there, more so than in the next one I'm going to talk to you about, because it's just, again, it's a different thing. But a lot of people have great success, and they're great people who are influencers who do those diets. And I'm not, saying that they're bad people or whatnot, but it's like a different space too, right? And they're different diets. But the next one is kind of the bridge diet between a ketogenic diet and carnivore, and that's the sort of the ketovore or meat-heavy keto. So that's your first outer circle on here. And its emphasis is on animal foods. I mean, you're still getting probably 95% of your caloric intake from animal foods. That you get dairy, you get no grains because it's still a ketogenic diet. And you might, decide once or twice a week you're going to throw some, for whatever reason, you're going to throw some asparagus or avocado into the mix. That's generally a ketovore diet. A lot of people swear by it. Again, they get to keto. They're in that transition phase. They get to keto. They're doing fun, they're doing great. But they want to up the game, so they cut back the plants even more, and so they keep their coffee and their vegetables for whatever reason a few times a week, and they land here. And some people find that this is where they thrive, and they decide just to stay there for their own reasons. And that's where you start getting into like that, not quite carnivore, but definitely not quite keto anymore, because you're starting to bridge the gap. And that's what that diet does, is it bridges the gap. And the next one is relaxed carnivore. And I think this is where a lot of people who do carnivore for weight management and health outcome management, where they want to be, even if they go beyond this for a time. Like, I'd like to get to a place where I can just maintain everything with relaxed carnivore. And that is kind of my goal, is to have the flexibility that relaxed carnivore has, because it does give you a small modicum of flexibility. Here you see the presence, of course, it's dominated by animal foods, most of which will be the flesh meat of large ruminant or even medium-sized ruminant animals, being goats or cows, mostly cows, obviously, for obvious reasons, but other ruminant animals. But you also see here more dairy than you're going to see on the other versions. And this isn't just butter we're talking about, people eating cheese and cottage cheese and kefir and yogurt and those sorts of foods. You will see the use of herbs and spices to really, jazz up that food. Yes, of course, water is present in every diet. I mean, if you're not drinking water, you're not going to last very long. You'll still see coffee, and you'll still see tea here. You might see the occasional artificial sweetener. Maybe you're taking the edge off your coffee. Maybe in your coffee or your tea, you're putting raw cream or organic cream. If you live in most states in the United States where you can't get raw dairy products, they'll put along with that some monk fruit extract, or maybe, if we're really going to stretch the term of relaxed carnivore, they'll add some coffee flavoring in. Point being, it's there's a reason it's relaxed carnivore, right? Here I would even go and say that even if you want to stretch this to very relaxed carnivore, you keep tinned and canned meats that have binding ingredients are definitely not carnivore in your pantry, and you have them on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis for things that are beyond keeping them on hand in case you get another giant snowpocalypse or something and can't get to the grocery store for 3 weeks. Well, you've got those things on hand. But this is relaxed carnivore. This is, I think, where most people want to be. And then next you get to what some are calling just a classic carnivore diet. And this is animal foods, flesh meat of animals, water, maybe a little bit of coffee, but the spices have pretty much gone away. Although I would also say maybe you've ditched the coffee and the tea here, because a lot of people still include it, and you're keeping the herbs and spices. But you're getting to a narrower and narrower list. And the reason people do that is this. Herbs and spices have oxalates in them. Carnivore diet is at least in part about eliminating plants because of the oxalates and anti-nutrients and the other things. Coffee and tea also have oxalates. In fact, coffee is fairly high in oxalates. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad per se. A lot of people I can already see going in the comments saying coffee has wonderful health benefits. I'm not going to discount that. I love coffee. The only food that I consistently miss, having gone a stricter carnivore version, is coffee. I haven't had coffee since about March. I still miss it. I would like to add coffee back in, partially for financial reasons, because I do recognize caffeine's got good health benefits, and the nice coffee that I used to buy is still far cheaper than buying cases of caffeinated water. But you'll still see carnivore here, dairy, but what the dairy that comes when you get to carnivore is mostly going to be butter, maybe occasionally cheese is like a condiment kind of thing. Maybe you're putting a little blue cheese on your steak or something once in a while. But if you're having dairy on a regular basis, it's going to be butter, or even stricter, it's going to be ghee. But beyond that, it's the plants at this point are all but eliminated. I mean, completely. And the ones that are there are incidental. You're not putting tomatoes on the side of your dish. And the final version is the lion diet. And this is beef and organs. If you want the organs, it's another hot button topic on carnivore. It's salt, it's water. I'm not sure why they call this the lion diet, since there weren't exactly a lot of cows out on the Great Plains of Africa and Asia. But the whole point of it is this is the strictest form of carnivore, and this is the area you start seeing people in who get the best results. The more they eliminate plants, the better the results tend to be. And I don't really know why that is per se, but other than that you've eliminated everything that your body shouldn't eat. Obviously, you can take beef and swap that out for lamb. If you live in a place where yak is available, assuming that's a ruminant animal, not looked it up, but I'm going to say that it is. Basically, the lion diet is ruminant animal and its associated organs, salt and water. And again, you don't have to eat the organs. I haven't had organ meat in about 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and I'm doing fine. But you can have in this, it's just you open the guy's refrigerator and it's going to be like, if there's some leftover cooked meat or a steak they're thawing in the refrigerator, and that's it. That's what the lion diet is. And so those are the various different kinds of carnivore diets. And the reason that it's kind of important to know what these things are is you may find yourself at, say, relaxed carnivore. You're not losing the weight you're supposed to be losing, or you still got all that inflammation and you don't know why. And some of your influencers tell you, oh yeah, herbs and spices, great. Look, I put some black pepper on barbecue sometimes. Okay, I'll be the first to tell you that. But not much. In fact, I'm trying to go back more to really this sort of where I live on this sphere between the carnivore and lion, because I still trying to heal a few things, right? And you might be in that space going, why am I not getting the results I'm promised? And what you might want to do is just go and make it stricter temporarily until you achieve what you're trying to achieve. And then you can slowly add things back in. Because remember, at the end of the day, a carnivore diet is an elimination diet. It's what separates itself from those other diets that I told you at the beginning are not carnivore diets, because they're not really elimination diets. You eliminate the plants. So you get down to this space here where you may have a little tiny amount of coffee, or you may have a little tiny amount of herbs and spices. And if you're still not doing anything, getting that, eliminate those, go down to the lion diet and live there for 90 days. If that doesn't work, then you may want to start getting stricter about the kinds of meat you're eating. And that's a topic for another video, because you can really get to the scientific data about grass-fed versus not grass-fed beef and find that they are almost different in terms of the fatty acid profile and other things that might be like contaminants in the meat. But that's another topic for another time. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. You can find this image is floating around the internet. I went to DuckDuckGo and did an image search for just carnivore chart, because I thought I had a copy of this. My phone doesn't like keeping pictures for whatever reason. So you can find this on there if you just scroll down far enough. Anyway, so let me know in the comments what you thought about this. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. It really does help. I'm Anthony Stine, and thanks for watching today.